In a span of 6 months, Ted Bundy abducted 6 of his 36 victims off a college campus, but he was never caught because he simply didn't fit the profile that the police thought. Ted Bundy, in his own words, is the most cold-hearted killer that has walked the earth. And in his lifetime, he has admitted to 36 murders, but authorities believe he committed over 100. And for those of you that don't know, here's what Ted Bundy looks like. So, Ted Bundy was born on November 24th in 1946 out of wedlock, and he was his mother's secret shame. And at the young age of 3, he had a weird fascination of knives. And when he became a teenager, he didn't get along with his peers even, and he had good grades. But he was said to be a creeper because he would peer into his other friends' windows, and he stole whatever he wanted from his friends. So when he got into college, he graduated in 1972 from the University of Washington with a psychology degree, and later he would go to the law school in Utah, but he never earned his degree. But while in Utah, he fell in love with a young woman named Elizabeth Culper, who had many things to her. She had money, class, and influence. After a nasty break, and then they eventually had a nasty breakup. An important fact is that his later victims resembled her. They were attractive with long, dark hair. By the 1970s, Bundy had transformed himself into a confident and active person. He was very social and had a good political stance. He even got a letter of recommendation from a Republican in Washington. In January 1974, the disappearances started. First, he got Karen Sparks, an 18-year-old Karen Sparks. He broke in, knocked her unconscious with a metal rod, sexually assaulted her with that object, and then she was in a 10-day coma with permanent disabilities. His first confirmed murder was Linda Ann Healy. He broke in, made her unconscious, clothed her, and brought her out to his car, and she was never seen again. After the continuation of the same type of females, he developed a technique. He would approach women who looked disabled in any way, like if they had a cast on their arm, and he would offer them help and then knock them out and then would rape them and kill them. He would sometimes then revisit the bodies and then have sex with them. And in some cases, he would decapitate them and keep their heads in the basement. Bundy liked murdering because he said that it was possession and the murders just become a part of you. Within the next 5 months, 5 victims, Donna Gail Manson, Susan Elaine Rancourt, Roberta Kathleen Parks, Brenda Carroll Ball, and Georgianne Hawkins. Then he finally relocated to Utah for law school, and he continued to rape and murder young women, including 4 teenage girls and a hitchhiker. When he relocated to Utah, his ex, Elizabeth, tipped the police saying she was sure that it was him, but there wasn't piling evidence, and he was unaware that the police were onto him, and he continued some killings even in Colorado. In 1975, he was pulled over in Salt Lake City, and they saw masks, handcuffs, and very blunt objects, so they kept him under surveillance since this wasn't piling evidence. Then they found his beetle, and they found hair matching to 3 of the victims, so they put him in a lineup of suspects, and one of them ID'd him. And then he was convicted and put in prison for kidnapping and assault. In 1977, he escaped from prison in Aspen, Colorado. He stole a car so he could get some distance, but then he was captured 6 days later. 6 months later, after he got a hacksaw from an inmate, and he started digging a hole in the ceiling, and he had money from one of his previous victims, Carol Boone. He got up into the chief jailer's room, which was unaccompanied, and he changed it from a jumpsuit into civilian clothes, and there was no dawdling so he could get out. In January 1978, he broke into the Chi Omega sorority in Florida, and in 15 minutes, he sexually assaulted and killed Margaret Bauman and Lisa Levy. And then he also gave permanent disabilities such as broken jaws and missing teeth to Catherine Kleiner and Karen Chandler. And then he went blocks away to Cheryl Thomas and beat her so bad that she now has permanent in his stolen car. He was convicted and then put on death row at Florida's Rayford prison. He suffered abuse from other prisoners, such as gang rape from other 4, and he even had a child with Carol Boone and was married while he was on trial. And on January 1924, he was put on death row and killed. Ted Bundy is the most stone-cold-hearted killer that has ever walked the face of the earth. And Bundy was ruthless with his 6 victims in 6 months because he fit in